Welcome back to yet another installment of Ask the Experts with the folks from Johnson & Johnson Heating and Air. Only two of you this week, but how you doing? How's it going?
We're
Doing
doing
good.
Too strong here. Everybody else is, well, this 90-degree weather keeps everybody busy. So yeah,
Summer is finally summering.
Summer is in full swing, that is for sure. So last time I talked to y'all, it was kind of like a weird in-between period because we were just getting out of that unseasonably cold start of the summer, if you will. It was still hot, you were still having a lot of service, but not as much as you were, I think, or the folks were expecting to get. But now, I'm sure that has completely changed with a couple of weeks up towards the 90s.
that has definitely changed. Yeah, we started out a little different than normal. Our days were, we had 70s, 80s, and then the nights were, we had some 45, 50-degree nights.
I know. Tell me
So
about
it
it.
was a
My
little,
poor
little
plants.
crazy summer. But yeah, that's over now. It's 90s in the evenings, 80s, and so we're busy. But we enjoy it. We prepare for that,
Right.
in the spring. So we're if it doesn't come, we're let down, right?
Yeah, I think Dale and them were saying it's like your Super Bowl. This part of the year is your Super Bowl. So
It is.
it was a little slow start to the Super Bowl,
Yeah.
boring start to the Super Bowl, but now it's certainly
Yeah.
Worst
getting you busy.
halftime show ever.
Yeah. So yeah, we're full throttle right now. Enjoying it.
So what kind of calls are you seeing? What's your normal call this time of year? Somebody is pumping their air conditioning. We'll get to a couple of those topics here a little bit later on. But they're pumping them day in, night out, right, all day. So what are some of the calls that you're normally seeing this time of year?
There's various ones, but one of the common one is it's just not keeping up. So it's running and running and running and running and just not keeping up. Lots of times it's a maintenance problem. So if it's a 95-degree day, I'll use a friend of mine's example. He calls me, and I'm like, "Did you check your filter?" He's like, "Well, not that long ago." I was like, "Have you checked your filter lately?"
So how quick can a filter get all stopped up? Is it just depending on the environment?
It depends on the environment and how good a filter you got. So the better the filter, the more it stops, right? So if you've got an allergen filter, it stops small particles. It will trap that and clog up quicker. And I knew what he was doing in his home. He was remodeling his basement.
So all the dust and the
Yeah.
work and
He's like, "Oh yeah." So he changed his filter, problem solved. It wasn't 100% clogged. It was about 50%, but it was a 95-degree day. So think about it. When it's that hot, it needs to run 100% correct. So the
it's
filter.
like trying to breathe through a straw.
Yeah. So it took care of the problem. But so that's a popular one. Another one is, the outdoor unit just isn't running at all. We get a lot of that. And the capacitor or something could have blown in this hot weather. But typically in this hot weather, those emergency situations, something usually kind of simple we can fix.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, we have those systems that are 20-some years old that just gave up the ghost
Right.
when it's that
Where
hot.
it's more cost effective just to get a whole new system and unit.
Sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what
Interesting.
does a capacitor do? Is it like a giant? It kind of looks like a big battery.
Isn't that the thing that was in the car for Back to the Future? Wasn't that what they...
That's a flux. Yeah, you had the flux capacitor. Yeah. So the capacitor kind of gives it a kick in the butt to get going. So really,
So it is like a battery.
sort of.
So those are
As
those
a charge.
are those a part of the unit that can fairly consistently you
That's-
can rely on those to be one of the things that'll go out.
That is something that's checked during the maintenance. You check the
Voltage.
the capacitance is what it's called.
Oh, capacitor.
But you check the tolerances on that, and if it's out, we recommend replace it because if it's getting weak, it's going to go. And
Right.
it's always going to go on the hottest day of the year or the coldest day of the year, but usually the heat's what takes them out. But
Now you said your one of your buddies hit you up asking for some HVAC questions, and we talked to a lot of lawyers and different experts in their fields here on WPM and WCST. And it seems like every once in a while you'll hear a story about getting hit up for unsolicited advice in their field. So does that happen for y'all fairly regularly during the summer? A buddy will be, hey, I hear this little knocking in the unit. Think you can come by and check it out, or what do you think it is? That kind of stuff.
yeah, I get that quite a bit. So I have good friends. That's not a problem.
Of course.
But I have family members across the country that are going to call up. Yeah, hey, what do you think this is? And I'm like, oh, really? I mean, their explanation,
Right.
not very good. It's kind of like calling a doctor and saying, my toe hurts. What do you think this is? I'm like, I don't know.
I hear this noise. What do you think that noise is? They hold the phone up and
Yeah, it's
Like your car.
yeah, hear this weird rattle.
And then you
coming
take it
by.
to the dealer, and then it's not making the noise. So
Right.
then you're like trying to make all these sounds.
Well, I had somebody do that once. They held the phone up and all I was like, hear was kids screaming. I'm like, is your child stuck in it? I don't know what's wrong. I mean, that's all I could hear. I didn't hear
Oh
it.
my gosh.
So, moral of the story is if you don't know, maybe try to do a little bit of investigative research to help you guys maybe diagnose a problem instead of saying, hey, here's this noise.
Yeah.
Here's see how it goes. But, of course, we're talking, summertime, there's going to be a lot of stress, a lot of strain on the HVAC units, maybe in somebody's house. And for me, I like to have the windows open, right? When applicable, not in the middle of the day when it's 95 degrees out, right? But I like to have the windows open during the day from time to time. Maybe have the door open, let some air come through, some light shine through. Now, is that wreaking havoc to my system? Having maybe the door cracked here, the window cracked there. What are some ways to keep some of that strain off of your unit?
Yeah. So I don't know if I do the cracking deal. I mean, just a little bit. Either open it up, shut everything down, and kind of think about that when you're going to do that. So if you have that evening during the week that's going to be a little cooler, go ahead, let it, if you want fresh air, open it up, shut it down. And but when it's really high humidity out, I mean, you're not getting a very good quality air coming in your house. I would just shut everything. If it's high humidity and really hot, shut it up, let the air conditioner run.
Mm-hmm.
Because it will. Doesn't, I don't know about wreak havoc, but it will just work the system to
It puts
death.
more pressure on.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it never gets a break.
Right.
And when it's, our systems really aren't designed in this area to cool your house when it's 95 degrees out. That's out of the parameters for this area. And when you go to Florida, they're designed for that.
Now, why aren't they everywhere designed? I guess,
Well, the government
place to
doesn't
place.
really want you to, so that's a government parameter. Now, some may be, like if customer asks for it to be specifically, and it's not like illegal.
Not gonna knock your door down.
No, but they try to get everybody to do, I think it's like 91 here. I haven't done a load calculation in a while. I got other people do that now, but I don't know exactly what the number is, so somebody hears me and say, don't crucify me.
Right.
I'm only 1 degree off, so. But it's energy saving. So if you design all your systems for the worst possible day of the year, and it's only that temperature 5 days out of the year, you've oversized your system, and it uses way more energy. So you're going to be, it's like having a gas guzzler car all the time when you don't need it. So if it's designed, say, for 91 degrees and it's 95, you just may crawl up a few degrees in your home a little bit. You're asking it to be 72 and maybe it gets to be 75.
Right.
But if that only happens a handful of times out of the year, is it really worth oversizing your unit?
Now, does it, in my brain, of course, the non-expert brain when it comes to this, I feel like it would cause more stress to turn the unit off, let the, windows, doors do whatever, get the air flowing or whatever, then turning it back on and off and on and off. I feel like that would cause a lot of unwanted stress.
That's why I wouldn't recommend opening up all the doors and windows unless it's fairly decent temperature outside.
Yeah.
So the first time, say your air conditioning's been out for a week, okay, and it's 90 degrees out. That house, it's not just the air temperature in the house that's warm. Your furniture's warm, your table, your floor is warm. The first time you turn the AC on, it can take 24 hours to pull the temperature down.
Wow.
Because it's actually removing the heat out of everything. And all those things are like heat sinks in the building. So it takes a long, long time. So yeah, if you let that kind of thing happen, oh yeah, you've created
So I have a question on
a lot
that.
of work for your air conditioning system.
I have my house is on a concrete slab, and so does that hold heat? Or
Nah, typically a concrete slab, it's on the earth, so it'll actually be cool. So
it usually is.
Kinda like a
Okay,
basement.
all right. So then when I run my heat in the winter,
yeah, it would be harder to heat than cool probably on that.
okay,
aspect.
no, that makes total sense. Okay, that's how I was thinking it worked, but I was curious. So then it's going to be different depending on what type of foundation you're on then.
And I've never thought about that with the furniture and things inside. I mean, You saw. I always just kind of think that they don't have a temperature. You don't think of them
Right.
having a temperature, you know. And
Right.
the fact that it adds an extra however long time frame wise to cool down, you know, your house or apartment just because of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it's
for
not
sure.
alive, so you're
That's true. It's like, what
you're
does
not
it matter?
expecting it to have a pulse, you know.
That works in the opposite if you have a radiant heat system, which I do in my shop. So if you have a heated concrete floor, say, and like we have a steel toolbox sitting there, that steel toolbox becomes almost a reflector of heat because that heat comes up through it, warms that up. So now all the items in your shop are actually reflecting heat
Wow.
out, radiating, not reflecting, heat out into the room. So
Who would have thought? Everything's out to get you in terms of staying comfortable, you know?
And that uses water, right?
yes.
Wow. Well, now, another question I wanted to ask you too is now that this Canadian wildfire smoke is back around
Oh
yet
my
again,
gosh.
is that something that people need to worry about too? Having, you know, the smoke in the air, and of course it's going to be coming through the system, through the filter and things. I mean, is that something to be wary about?
Definitely. I mean, if you have what's it called, asthma,
Yeah.
type of thing like that. I mean, it's probably not good for any of us to some respect, but I'm not a doctor there, so.
But is that smoke? I mean, is that essentially doing the same thing as, you know, just bad air quality
yeah,
getting into your filter?
bad air quality. So it's not going to hurt your system at all. Your system's fine. The air is going to go through the filter. So the better the filter you have, the more. So if you have that pollen grade filter, it will catch those particulates that are harmful for breathing. But then there again, that's not a good time to be opening up those doors.
Now, I got two more questions for you before we have to get to this first break. One of which is definitely a very personal question. How often should you be cleaning these air vents? Because I'll dust around, right, from time to time once I start to notice there's a little layer, you know, building up on the TV stand and things like that. And, you know, my eye doesn't necessarily always look up there to the vent, and when it does, I can see that there's some dust and stuff around it. So what's that doing to the system?
So, didn't used to be able to answer that question, but up until we've been doing duct cleaning, I guess, for 10 or plus years now. I've been more than that. I say that stuff all the time, and then I'm like, what we've been doing?
Actually,
We've been doing way longer than that. So it's probably been 15. But anyway, we started cleaning them. Then we got the second round of that cleaning, right? Because I really didn't know the answer to that question. And it depends on the type of filter you used. So if you've got a really good filter on your home, it keeps dirt from going into that filter and through the filter and into your ductwork, right? If you've got a not so good filter, the dirt goes right through the filter and into your ductwork, and it makes your ductwork dirty. And then your vents and everything.
I've heard that if you have a lot of dust, I didn't mean to cut you off. I've heard that if you have a lot of dust that settles in your home, that could be coming from your vents.
Could be, but lots of times that dust came from somewhere first. You know,
Mm.
it didn't create dust. So
Well,
outside influences, usually pets
Right.
or
Children.
yeah, you know, whatever. So if you had a really good filter, it wouldn't have got there in the first place. I've seen 20-year-old systems with a really good filter clean.
Really?
But the average filter in the average home, about every 5 years, that ductwork gets pretty dirty.
Mm-hmm.
But there again, if you were to have a really good 5-inch, we grade them by MERVs, microns of the filter. If you have at least a MERV 11, you can go 15 years.
Really?
Yeah. But like I said, I've seen them 20 years
I
old
think I need
clean.
to upgrade my filter.
But
I think I do too.
But the average system's about every 5 years we've found that it's time to clean again.
Yeah. And then I'm going to assume that that's kind of along the same lines of your clothes dryer vent, to where if it builds up enough, it could start to, you know, of course, mess with the system, but could be, you know, fire hazards and all kinds of things
We
along the
don't
lines.
do dryer vents though.
Well, no, I was just putting them in the same
I know.
family. wouldn't
I
say that's,
know.
But yeah, they you know, depending on how, they're very important on how you exhaust them out and everything. But it's very similar, yeah.
Yeah. Well, again, you're tuned in to Ask the Expert with the folks from Johnson & Johnson Heating and Air. We'll step aside for a few minutes. Be back with more on WPM and WCST, the Panhandle News Network. Back to Ask the Experts with the folks from Johnson & Johnson Heating and Air. We went over a lot there in that first segment, talking about, you know, the strain on your system, things you can need to look out for, things you need to do, maybe cleaning your vents every once in a while, or at least going up there and taking a little look. But, you know, for those people that are sitting around the house, maybe their AC's working well, it's cooling down the house, but, you know, not as much as they'd like, or maybe they hear, you know, rattling somewhere, you know, making a little bit of noise. What are some of the what are some of the indicators, the factors that people should be looking for to know that maybe it's time to at least give you all a call to see if they need to get a new system?
Well, the biggest indicator for me it would be my wallet. I mean, if it's costing you a lot to maintain, fix, kind of like your car, there's got to be this cutoff point, right? Also, an older heating air conditioning system can be a lot more expensive in the electric bill as well. So, you can think about if it's costing you a lot to get repaired and maybe it's not producing that comfort quite that you want. It's like, it's getting it done. But if it's just getting it done, it's costing you a lot of money, it's probably a good time to take a look at it. And keep in mind, a new system's gonna be a lot better on the electric bill as well. So they're expensive.
Yeah.
I understand that. It's a painful thing. I mean, it's one of the more expensive things in your home. But
Yeah, would you rather be comfortable or sweating or freezing?
or wait, or spend thousands of dollars literally getting it fixed. If it's major repairs you keep doing, and then you come to the point where you got to do it anyway.
Right.
So it's I've done that with cars. I've gambled. Sometimes it's paid off. Sometimes it hasn't. I'm like, I should have just cut loose while I was done.
Yeah, you sound like me at the casino.
Well, your
Yeah.
HVAC is actually the second largest investment that you'll make for your home.
Behind what?
Your roof.
Oh, that would make sense. Well, yeah, I mean, you think about it. I mean, you don't want to be sitting in your house sweating all day, or when it gets
No.
colder, you don't want to be in there freezing all night.
I
So,
think about it all the time, how people in the old days did it, because I really don't know. I would die.
when
I don't.
you see my house that I moved out of coming down here, it's out. It's like the old times there.
Like the 1800s, like
Yeah.
I would have.
Window units in all the rooms. I had natural gas heat that came out of one vent right between the living room and the dining room, and you could stand on it. It was perfect. I'd stand right on top of that thing, and there'd just be a little tunnel of heat.
Oh my
But I didn't have any
gosh.
insulation. It was an old brick house, right?
Mm.
So that air, once it got out of there, that was it.
Yeah.
It would just be gone. So it'd be freezing everywhere else except for that nice little,
Had to be right on
little
top of
tunnel.
it.
Yeah,
I
loved
would
it.
not be happy there.
Well, I grew up in old houses, so I was kind of used to it. But now that I've been in a situation where I have central air, heating and things, I agree with you. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could ever go back. I'm sure I probably will at some point. But
I also feel like when you're looking at getting a new system, that your refrigerant probably plays a role. Like for instance, R22,
Yeah,
they're
if
not
you-
really making that
But
anymore.
that all comes into your, how much it's spending. If you have an older system with the antiquated refrigerant that's not available really anymore, it's, every time you have to have something done with your refrigerant, it's going to cost them your fortune. And so the newer stuff is not as bad and more readily available. So
Less
when,
expensive.
and you said one of the first things that would trigger you to think about getting a new system would be throwing money at it. You're continuing to throw money at it, but when you maybe come to the conclusion, all right, maybe something's starting to go out, maybe something needs to be looked at. Is there any wiggle room on timing? Because like you said, it can get pretty expensive if you want to either continue to repair things or if you want to get a new system. So is there time to waste, I guess, once you kind of realize that the system might be going bad?
well, without a professional opinion on that, looking eyes at it, it's hard to say. So, like our $69 tune-up, that's really what we're there to do, and hopefully if you're a customer that uses us quite often, we're giving you heads up. I mean, if it's the first time you saw us, yes, we might spring one on you, but like, you don't have hardly any time at all. But if you're a regular customer, that's our job.
Mm-hmm.
Education is key.
Education, and maybe let you help budget this guy, right? So be like, Mrs. Smith, 2 more years is all we're going to get out of this. I mean, it may go quicker, but I'm saying 2 years. And I like our techs to have that conversation, because the last thing I want to do is just surprise somebody.
Right.
Hey, by the way, you need to spend $12,000 tomorrow. So no, I don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So there are things we can look at and be like, this is not going to last much longer. We've got a coil starting to leak. Yeah, we'll go ahead and put some in it, but we really need to start thinking about this.
Well, you brought it up, so before we transition here, let people know about your $69 tune-ups, Comfort Club, all the different things. So people, if they don't have, the experience or don't have the confidence to go out and maybe look around, of course, don't crack the lid. Don't get in there and start messing around with stuff. Let the experts over at Johnson & Johnson do so. But, you know, where can people go and how can people find that avenue to get a little bit of help?
Yeah, so go to our website at jnjcomfort.com. Talks all about our Comfort Club, and our $69 tune-up is a great entry level. Probably not so much for our regular customers, but get to know us. I mean, gamble $69. Have us come out, and I guarantee you're going to want to flip that to a Comfort Club. It's only about $18 a month. We'll do a lot of work for that. I mean, it may sound like every month I got to spend that. When you see our guys out there and how much time they spend, typically in the past, people think of HVAC maintenance. They go in, they just open up a thing, they peek at it, and our guys do not do that.
Right.
In fact, if I found out if our guys did that, I hate to say it, they get fired.
Yeah.
I mean, that's...
We hold them to a high standard.
We train on that. We have equipment in our shop. We train. Our service manager does ride-alongs. It's very, very serious for us.
Mm-hmm.
But call us or get on our website, jnjcomfort.com. Check us out. Try our tune-up out. $69.
Yeah, the worst you can say is, well, it looks good. You don't got to worry about it.
Yeah. So, or we'll educate you about your system as well.
Yeah.
I mean, give you things that you need to know that you could do.
Right. Well, you might see a new face out and about in the Johnson & Johnson vehicles. Speaking of the faces out in the field, you have a new service tech.
Well, actually, Dayon has been with us for a little while.
Mm.
He has been in training. He's been riding along with some of our more senior service techs and just kind of getting a feel for how we operate as Johnson & Johnson, but also getting a little bit more experience before we just kind of set him out on his own. So he has passed his tests and he has paid his dues, and now
Right.
he has his own truck.
Sweet.
He's just going to be doing maintenances for a little while. I'm not sure exactly what the timeline is on that, but
He'll
eventually...
probably do maintenance for over a year.
Yeah.
And it just depends on people graduate in different levels for service. But I'll tell you a funny story about him yesterday. And I feel bad for poor Dale, and he got to his second call and didn't go so well.
Oh, no.
Well, this is his first time in a truck by himself, right? So I mean, it's got to happen sometime.
So he's got a little bit of
He's
anxiety.
learning the
He
ropes.
knows what he's doing, but they asked him a question and he answered, "Well, this is my first day," and of course that kind of freaked the customer out. Well, he didn't say I've been riding along for 6 months or whatever, right? And when we do ride-alongs, they do the work. Our senior person
You're just
just
there to help
watch.
them,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. They let them take the lead. But so they were like, "Can we please get somebody else?"
Oh, no. And I mean, from a consumer
I
point of
don't.
view,
Well,
they can understand
he
it.
just didn't have the conversation quite right, and
Right.
that's part of the training too. So
Yeah.
they came back. So now we're like, okay, so this is how you handle this situation. But
Well, it's got to be a little nerve-wracking being on your own for the first
Yeah,
time. I mean,
it is.
usually you're just playing second fiddle, and now all of a
Mhm.
sudden the spotlight's on you.
Well, it says here on your Facebook page, with his friendly demeanor and commitment to delivering top-notch customer service, he is sure to make a lasting impact on those he serves. So I'm sure Dayon, with it being maybe a little bumpy, he's got to learn the ropes, right? Like you said, it's going to happen at some
Yeah.
point, right? So I'm sure he's got a bright future ahead.
So,
Yeah, for
we
sure.
We had 4 calls, all went swell other than that one. But,
Yeah. He's so sweet. Like, I really like Dayon. He has a very mild demeanor.
Yeah.
He's very easygoing, but he'll
That's
crack
why
a
we-
joke with
that's
you.
why we
You
let
know.
him on the team. I mean,
Well, of course, he fits into our culture very well.
Well, I'm scrolling through y'all's Facebook page here, and I see the picture of Dayon right next to his van, holding his key up, looking like a excited worker there in the parking lot. I also am looking through here, and I see a little picture of an English bulldog that looks like a sweetie. But before we get to that, I want to talk to y'all about your partnership with Horses with Hearts, because that's a great organization here in the county, here in the Panhandle, and it seems like you're doing a pretty cool partnership with them.
Well, so for the month of July, $300 from every install is going to go towards Horses with Hearts. And if you don't know what Horses with Hearts is, it's actually a therapeutic horse riding place for people with disabilities.
Yeah.
And they range from kids to adults to veteran. Veterans are, of course, adults, but, they fall into their own category.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really great, the stuff that they do, and it's great that we have something like that locally. And Kay does such a great job. and she's a really sweet lady. So we are excited to be doing that. We're going to be doing a different cause every month from
Okay.
now on. So we're doing pretty good. I think we've raised about $8,700 so far.
Dang.
Yeah. It costs them about $5,000 a month to operate. So
Yeah.
I mean,
We're hoping 15 for the month.
Yes.
We're gonna try.
we have a goal
Our
of
goal.
15,000.
Am I going to be seeing a picture of a group trip out to do some horseback riding?
We
or
have
no?
one scheduled, actually. I don't know that we'll be riding,
We're gonna
although
be
you know,
helping.
Oh, I gotcha.
well, riding
We
sounds
might get
fun
the ride,
too.
though.
Oh, I'm
I
sure
would
they'll-
love
I'm
that.
sure Kale throw you up there.
I didn't
anyway.
even think about that.
There
I would
you
love
go.
that. I
Just
love
a little lap
horses.
around the
Yeah.
rink. Or
We were
whatever.
thinking about shoveling and scooping. But
Well,
yeah,
Or we could like lead, I don't know.
That
We
could
were
be
gonna
your
go
reward,
out. We
you
were
know?
it'd be
gonna.
our, if we do a good job.
Yeah, it could be your reward.
They're
You
doing
know?
a,
Pick up all this horse manure. I'll say
Yeah.
on the radio. You do it well enough, you can go on top of one.
Yeah, well, they're having a summer camp, so we're gonna go. We're gonna meet some of the kids,
Cool.
and we're gonna. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a great time. And then, actually, the day before that, or after that, either the day before or the day after, we have the ice cream truck coming to Johnson & Johnson.
I'll be over there for that one. I'll
Come
stop
on
by.
over.
Come on
Get
over.
scoop
We're gonna
ice
have a
cream.
couple extra cones. We have Scoop Dog coming.
Scoop Dog.
I
That's
know. How
perfect.
clever is that?
Scoop
So
Dog.
he's
For a
gonna
second, I
come.
was like, wait, who's coming? They'll
Yeah.
definitely be there.
They're gonna come and we're all gonna have ice cream and we're gonna deliver it to our installers. So it's just a great little treat for us here at the office.
Now tell me about Duke.
Oh yeah, Duke. So another partnership that we have is with Rescue Me West Virginia. You know, we've been doing that for a while now. So our pet of the week, he is a 2-year-old English bulldog.
Looks like such a sweetie.
He
I can't imagine him
does.
staying there too long. He looks like
He's
yeah.
all wrinkles. So it sounds like he's mostly house trained, but he does really good in the crate. He's been staying with a foster family. He's been gotten all the shots. You know, he's fixed, completely vetted. He does need someone who's going to be home with him a lot. He has a lot of energy, so they don't want him pent up, you know?
Right.
So it's also good if he has a fenced-in yard. He loves tennis balls, so, you got to give him the freedom to be able to go get the ball and bring it back.
Mm-hmm.
Fetch is great for him. He doesn't like to share things, so it's not that he can't be with other animals, but you should probably feed him and give him his toys and things and separated from other pets. And because of that, he is a resource guarder, meaning that he guards his food, he guards his toys. Sometimes that can mean that they guard their people.
Right.
So because of that, they don't want any kids under 12. But he is really calm. He does like to play rough with other dogs. So, if your other dog doesn't like dogs that are rough,
Yeah.
maybe
might
not
be
the
fit.
best fit. And of course, he is an English bulldog. They have wrinkles, which means that they have to have their little wrinkles cleaned. And
Yeah.
so he does require regular grooming to prevent ear and skin issues. But it sounds like he's great. You might need to do some more training for him, but if you're interested and you want to fill out an application, you can go to rescuemewv.org.
Sweet. And we are coming up against the end of it here. So real quick, let everybody know where they can go to find out more or everything about Johnson & Johnson Heating and Air.
Our wonderful new and improved website, jandjcomfort.com. That is
A-N-D-J.
yes, JAND, jcomfort.com.
Or can you tell I've heard your commercials a time or two? think
I
know.
usually just copy Dale.
I think I can do the whole
He's
thing.
not here today.
Well, thank you all again for stopping in. It's always a pleasure to talk with you. And this has been Ask the